afternoon. It's the Pit Stop. Appreciate you joining me. I'm Stephen McCollum for the next hour or so. I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the racing world. Of course, IndyCar finished their season last weekend in Nashville, or Lebanon, Tennessee, if you will. Of course, the Truck Series had their first round race. They're off this week before they get started again next week here for round two of their first three races here of the first round of the playoffs, I should say. Of course, Xfinity, one more race coming up this weekend before their playoffs are set. We got you all updated on all of that, looking forward and back. Cup Series, their first races in the books of this first round as well of three. And, of course, the lawsuit that won't die. It's going to be the end of this lawsuit unless there's a settlement or the court date coming up in December. I think we've kind of hit a void here coming up, and we'll give you all of those updates coming up as well. For those of you that catch us live, catch us on demand at Robat TV, thank you very much with your subscription. Of course, one subscription gets you all of the shows, the main event, McCollum on Business, Pit Stop, Morning Show, and every other show that's produced around the Robat TV. But if you don't catch us there, free podcast. Follow us at the Pit Stop Talk on the socials, X and Facebook. And, of course, there's a link there, of course, to the free podcast only on Podbean as of this moment. We'll get out to the other ones here coming up. And then, of course, the new thing around here for my shows, the main event, McCollum on Business, Pit Stop. YouTube is where we're putting this show up on demand as well. I know a few of you, not very many, have found us there. Our overwhelming big audience is at Robat TV, but I've had some people ask me about, other options to hear it besides the podcast. So that's where the YouTube channel that we've had at the YouTube channel for a while. We do live stuff there. We did it one time. We did live stuff there. It kind of went dormant on us. Firing that back up here as well. Everything's on demand there as well. We'll have those links, of course, at X. Follow us at the Pit Stop Talk as well, and you'll see those links there. Appreciate you following us, but now let's get into the racing week. As, look, playoffs are here, right? NFL's starting up. College football's already started up. Racing playoffs are finally here. One thing that does drive me a little bit nuts about NASCAR is kind of the delay, right, of the playoff system. It's weird having the first race of the first round in the Truck Series last weekend, and it's weird to have the first race of the first round in the Cup Series. And then Xfinity, they're just battling it out, right? There's 4 spots open going into the race there at in Portland for the Xfinity Series. And, it's just kind of an off deal, right? And then the Truck Series opens their race, off this week, and then come back the following week, right? So it's kind of like an upheaval deal here. My simple brain likes the consistency of it all happening at once. And I get why, right? Smaller playoffs, of course, in the Truck Series. And so you can't race weekly, or your championship race would be all messed up once you got to the final races, at the end of the season. And so I get why you do it. It just does affect my teeny tiny brain and what I deal with on the brain side. So IndyCar, last race of the season. And I was kind of watching a certain thing here with these last 2 or 3, IndyCar races. And I was kind of watching the rating side of things as we talk about here. Because what does ratings do, right? Because NASCAR has the playoff format. Doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. It matters what happens when you get into the playoffs, and can you advance each round if you qualify for it and get there. Well, IndyCar has just that year-long championship deal, kind of like NASCAR used to be. There's pluses and minuses to both sides of this, folks. There just is. So what does IndyCar do? People start to tune out as the race. Of course, Alex Palou has won that a couple weeks ago. So what does that mean moving forward is kind of the question, going into this race. Now, it happened in, of course, Lebanon, Tennessee, right there outside of Nashville. Nashville Super Speedway is where, the final race happened. It was an enjoyable race. Joseph Newgarden gets the win there in the race for this. He's had a terrible year in IndyCar. By his standards, a terrible year that he had. but gets the final race win of the year. Then that ends, and I'll get you the championship stuff here in just a moment, but then that ends, and then we get nonstop news around IndyCar there, and it comes quick, it comes fast, and it came within 24 hours of a time frame here for announcements here in IndyCar as we go. So Josef Newgarden finished out the season well. So let's show you the top 10 here of the championship standings for IndyCar. And, we obviously know the top spot. And we know Pato O'Ward was probably going to finish second in here. Scott Dixon ends up third. Kyle Kirkwood ends up there in a fourth place. Christian Lundgaard there in fifth. Felix Rosenqvist there in sixth. Colton, which is newsmaker here, right? Colton Herta there in seventh place. Marin Armstrong there in eighth. Will Power, the big secret that wasn't a secret out there, came with Will Power this week. Not a shocker. Least kept secret there around motorsports there with Will Power. Then you got Scott McLaughlin in the 10th spot. Josef Newgarden did finish 12th in the championship standings. Look, this was just a dominating effort here again. I have fourth championship here for Alex Palau. That Chip Ganassi team is dominant. You can see there, right? 2 out of the top 3 spots filled by them this season. So now the interesting thing about these numbers, right? This has been locked up for a long time in terms of the IndyCar circuit, what's happening around there, the championship side of things. So then you look at ratings. Does a championship being completed 3 weeks before the season end hurt your ratings? Well, in this case, no. Fox TV, of course, is where you find IndyCar. They got 1.142 million viewers for that IndyCar series finale from Nashville. That's a good number. Up 483,000 people from last year. It was on NBC last year as well. Now, here's the difference. Last year, the season-ending race was up against the NFL. The NFL season had already begun. 483,000. So it's not. I'm not going to compare NBC and Fox because NFL is a juggernaut and took a lot of that audience away. Apparently, 483,000 people away last year to finish it. What's more interesting to me is the 1.142 total million viewers for that last race there in Nashville for Fox. Because the series has been wrapped up for 3 weeks. 4 weeks. What was it, 3 or 4 weeks? I forget. And you still had over 1 million people tuning in. That's fantastic ratings for IndyCar there at Fox. One, avoid the NFL broadcast and everything. Absolutely. Because that will kill you. And then, doesn't matter. Championship side doesn't matter, folks. Their ratings were right there, and that's that. And some would say, up compared to last year, of course. Like I said, they got to take the NFL side into it. So then Fox Sports, first year with IndyCar on their, network. I do like how they used IndyCar as kind of a lead-in, right, to NASCAR. Of course, next year, the rumor is for the 2026 schedule, out here in Phoenix, right? You'll have Xfinity race. You'll have the IndyCar on Saturday, according to the rumors, and then the Cup Series on Sunday coming the way here in Phoenix from that side. So IndyCar is going to continue to move in. Of course, Penske, right, owns teams in IndyCar, owns the IndyCar circuit, owns some NASCAR teams as well. I think he's looking at some benefit here of owning both these circuits and the crossover you could get. So Fox, inaugural IndyCar Series season, largest viewership growth of any sport on the Fox networks out there. So average viewers on Fox and FS1, 1.36 million people watching IndyCar this year. That's a 27% increase from 2024 as well. And it's the most since that 2008 post-merger season. IndyCar and the kart series merged back into IndyCar again back in 2008. We don't need to get into that disaster of a move that happened in terms of separating originally. But 1.36, numbers are up here with the broadcast there on Fox, right? 27% increase. That's the most 2025 audience growth for any sport, averaging at least 1 million viewers. So massive increase there. Then if you want to get into things that are internal in rating side of things, if you don't know, the most coveted age group of people watching for sponsors, well, it's that 18 to 34 range. Well, it was up 81% for NASCAR on Fox this year. That means advertising dollars to Fox? Absolutely. 18 to 49 is another big demographic people pay attention to, and they want to see those ratings to set those ad dollars. Well, it was up 51% for that territory as well. This season also saw an increase in women viewers. Yes, women. Welcome to IndyCar. I don't mean that derogatory. I mean, seriously, it's fun to watch, right? It's not as, I'm going to use the word hillbilly. It's not as hillbilly, right? It's a little bit more, wine and cheese IndyCar is over NASCAR. So I should say that more than hillbilly, but hey, I'll insult who I want to insult, I guess. So women viewers up as well. Women's 18 to 34. Well, they're up 72% for Fox as well. So huge numbers for IndyCar. I like what I see out of IndyCar. And I'm not going to lie to you. They need to get more competitive. Absolutely. Out there. You just have to get more competitive. 8 wins for Alex Palau. It's a dominant season. Not just that, 14 top 5s, 15 top 10s for him. You need the domination. You need more parity. You need more competition. We'll have to see where we go with this moving forward in the IndyCar series. And then season ends. We get all these stats out there. And then, boom, we wake up earlier this week. News galore. The least kept secret in motorsports, Will Power is, in fact, out at Team Penske. I mean, that was a rumor 2 months ago here. He was asked about it a lot. Team Penske was asked about it a lot. Finally official after this season that he's leaving Team Penske. He quickly signs within 24 hours with Andretti Global. He'll be driving the 26 car next year for Andretti Global for Will Power. Will Power wasn't leaving the sport unless he wanted to do so on his own. He's a very formidable driver out there. And I think he's going to be happier with Andretti than he was with Team Penske, especially at the end of this season coming up from that. Another announcement came out. So that's a driver announcement. There's another driver announcement. Colton Herta is leaving IndyCar, right? He's going to be a test driver for the Cadillac F1 team for next season. And what does that mean? That means he wants to be an F1 driver. I don't think that's a secret. I know he prefers that. You go from the wine and cheese of IndyCar, then you go to the Lambos and fine life, vacation home, private jets life there of F1. It's a whole nother level. If you saw F1, the movie, in the movie theaters, you'll see what we're talking about. It's a whole nother level in terms of class there in the F1 side. So he's going to go to be a test driver for the Cadillac F1 team, which simply means he's going to go try to be an F1 driver. If all goes well and he has success, he will be an F1 driver, probably the 2027 season. But he's not given a ride. He's got to go earn a ride there for Colton Herta. And I like that aspect of it. He's not saying, I'm going to come to F1 if you give me a ride. He's saying, you know what? I'm going to come earn my ride. I'm going to give up IndyCar. I'm going to move over to F1 and see if I can make it there. I love that attitude. Whether he does it or not, it's another story. But I love the attitude of him going and doing that there. Then, so those are the 2 driver announcements that we hear of this year. Then we get kind of more schedule news out there. 2026 means for the Canada race, the Canadian race out there. Well, it's moving to the mean streets of Markham in 2026. I don't know if they're mean. I don't know about that. But they're moving to Markham. The Canadian race is for Markham here in 2026. Street race as well out there. I saw pictures of the design of it and kind of that area. Man, it's beautiful up there. I like it a lot. But that's the other news there in the 2026 schedule. Everything else still seems to be, a little bit speculatory. Going into 2026, no announcements on that 2026 schedule officially yet. We have had, Obviously we know about the St. Petersburg race. We're pretty confident about the Phoenix race based off of what I've heard from NASCAR circles. The Truck Series going, of course, to St. Petersburg, NASCAR Truck Series with the IndyCar side. So we got to have some details out there. But we do have some unknowns still. So 2026 schedule will probably be the next news break there for IndyCar. Of course, here at the pit stop, we'll get it to you as soon as that information drops as we see it hit the circuit as well. So then, right, IndyCar season wraps up. No shocker. I saw Alex Palau with all of his trophies. I saw him with the trophy of winning it. I saw him doing the parade. Man, it looks fun. It looks fun to be a champion in the IndyCar series. It just does. Just looks fun. Then you got the Truck Series, of course, racing at Darlington last week. First race of round one. 3 races here in round one. Win, you advance. Otherwise, you got to get in via points, right? The pressure's on to everybody. The narrative going into these playoffs on the Truck Series is simple. Will Corey Heim continue his dominance and win a championship this year? Corey Heim should win a championship. If Corey Heim doesn't win a championship, it's going to be an utter failure by him and his team if he doesn't get there. Period. End of story. He's just dominated this season out there. Well, stop me if you heard me before. Corey Heim goes out there early Saturday morning, 9 o'clock our time here in Phoenix, gets the win there at Darlington. Not a shocker that he does so. That's what he does. It's what Corey Heim does. Goes out there and wins. Eighth win of the season, 19th of his career. First win there at Darlington as well. The Lady in Black. He mesmerized her to get that win for him. Tire issues were an issue in this race, which kind of was leading me to, Cup Series tire problems. A lot of cars losing air. They go up against that wall and they go, right, Corey Heim had that problem early in the race. At the end of stage 2, Corey Heim's tire was going down, was able to get out of that race, didn't have a blowout. Because if you had a blowout, it would have been harder to win when your car's wrecked, right? Truck's wrecked. He gets through that stage, gets to the pits, gets that tire changed out. All's well and good for Corey Heim. A lot of guys were having tire issues rubbing up against that wall. Lane Riggs, who was the competition, if you follow me on Twitter, right? I was watching this race, talking about how this is a Corey Heim and Lane Riggs type of race. Well, Lane Riggs battling it out with Corey Heim, gets knocked out of this race. Because why? Tire blows out, goes into the wall, out of the race. Well, he ends up finishing, I think, 17th, but doesn't get a chance to win this race when he deserved a chance to win it, to be honest with you, as well for him from that side. Tires were an issue here. It was kind of interesting watching the tire concerns as they continue to go on as well from that side. Lane Riggs crashing into that outside wall just put an end to his day and left it open for Corey Heim to continue to win from this side of the race. It's as simple as that in the Truck Series Race 1. I'm going to suspect we're going to talk a lot more about Corey Heim dominating this playoffs, especially early here, right? But in terms of playoff drivers, don't forget, right? Everybody races in the Truck Series. Playoff drivers, which right now there are 10 to get eliminated after 3 races. Corey Heim led 65 of these laps here at Darlington last weekend. Over there in South Carolina, Lane Riggs did finish 17th. He led 71 laps until that tire finally gave out. And then interesting, Lane Riggs has the tire issue, blowout into the wall, finishes 17th late in the race. Corey Heim tire issue, realizes it, able to slow down a little bit, get through that second stage, get that tire changed, saves his race and allows him to win it. It's amazing how those little minute things can happen in racing and allow you to either win or get knocked out. Other guy that led a lap, Chandler Smith, playoff driver, he led 10 laps in this race. And then Grant Effinger actually led 1 lap here on a restart to get his 1 lap from that side. So Corey Heim, obviously playoff driver, favorite in these playoff finishes first. Daniel Hemrick, playoff driver, finished second. Grant Effinger, playoff driver, finished third. Ty Majeski, defending champion, playoff driver, finished fourth here in this Darlington race. Playoff drivers in the front, I'd like to see it, love to see it. Have them battle for the lead, even though it wasn't really a battle. but have him up there with a playoff driver with a chance to win, right? Then you've got Trevor Bayne, Tanner Gray, non-playoff drivers there in 5th and 6th. Tyler Ankrum finishes 7th there as a playoff driver. Timmy Hill, non-playoff driver in 8th. Corey Day in his car there, playoff driver, finishes 9th. Jake Garcia, playoff driver, finished 10th for him. Other playoff guys finishing outside the top 10. Well, Chandler Smith finished 30th here for him in an accident. Lap 14 is where he got into that accident, and out of that race as a playoff driver. Terrible start for Chandler Smith in the playoff run going on. Caden Honeycutt, another not fun day for him. He finished 18th in this race as a playoff driver. We already told you Lane Riggs is 17th because of that tire into the wall. For those two playoff drivers, finished there. Raja Cruz, the only one we haven't brought up yet, finished 12th here for this first race in the first round of the playoffs for Raja Cruz. So what does that mean going into this off week? Well, of course, after this off week, give you a little preview. September 11th, Thursday night, by the way, racing for the Truck Series, Bristol Motor Speedway coming up. So off this weekend, next Thursday night a race as well for the Truck Series. But what does that mean for the playoffs here going into this off week? Well, we'll show you here with the playoff numbers that we are looking at. Well, here we go. Corey Heim, obviously one win, moves on automatically to the round of 8 coming up here. Lane Riggs is in second place, 38 points up from that cutoff line. Daniel Hemrick right after that. Grant Effinger right after that in that 4th spot. Obviously, no surprise. These guys finished well in this race. They should have a lot of playoff points, especially with how they finished races, etc. Tyler Ankrum there in 5th, 22 points up. Ty Majeski, 16 points up there in that 6th spot. So I think Ty Majeski on up, unless something disastrous happen, those 6 drivers are moving on to the next round. Unless you get some extra winners, right, etc. So who's going to be the other 2? I think Roger Carruth is in trouble. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it, but with Caden Honeycutt's terrible race there at Darlington and Chandler Smith getting knocked down this race in lap 14, they can make it up. I expect Chandler Smith to move on, to be honest with you. I expect Caden Honeycutt to move on a little bit as well. Who's going to get left out of this? We're going to lose. Roger Carruth, to me, does get knocked out in this round. So who's going to win here with Jake Garcia, Chandler Smith, and Caden Honeycutt? I do think unless Roger Carruth or Jake Garcia wins, they will be the guys knocked out. Unless Caden Honeycutt and Chandler Smith or another driver has a disastrous Chandler Smith type race, I think is what's going to happen. But this is why it's the playoffs. You can get knocked out quickly here coming up in these Truck Series and everything. So off week this week, teams have time to sit back and regurgitate, relax, get their trucks ready here for Bristol coming up. Bristol is going to change things. Do we get a new winner at Bristol? Do we even get a playoff winner? Non-playoff drivers win. That just means you have to point into the playoffs more. No guaranteed spot to move on. You have to point in. Do we get that a little bit at Bristol? You can get anybody to win at Bristol coming up here. Does somebody get wrecked out early again like Chandler Smith? This is fascinating to see. Obviously, the favorite of the playoffs, Corey Heim, safe here. Bristol doesn't matter to him other than momentum, etc. He's advancing on regardless. Does that put the extra pressure on, right? Chandler Smith, Caden Honeycutt as they're down on that side. This is going to be fun to see here coming up. Again, off this week, next Thursday, September 11th, is where we will see the Truck Series coming up here after this off week. I'm looking forward to it. This was a fun race there at Darlington with Lane Riggs and Corey Heim. It's just too bad that Lane Riggs had the tire issue and ended up, finishing 17th in this race. I would have liked to seen them compete a little bit more, but hey, that's what things happen when you're going around coming up here as well, right? So Bristol here in a week for the Truck Series. Folks, that leaves us with the Xfinity Series here coming up next on the Cup side. Not clinched their playoffs yet. As of last week when they were at Portland, 2 races to go before they solidify their playoffs. Now that Portland's done, well, this weekend is the final regular season race for the Xfinity. Like I said, it kind of makes my head hurt a little bit thinking about how it's off, off compared to the other guys. But hey, it is what it is. Road course there at Portland. Tell me if Corey Heim wins the truck race. Shocker. Connor Zilisch dominates the Portland race and wins that there. Shocker. Connor Zilisch wins another Xfinity race. The reason why he's moving up to Trackhouse next year, folks. Dominant at the Xfinity level. Of course, he gets to win in overtime. He does have to make a pass in one of the overtimes in order to from Austin Hill in order to get the win here. But he dominated this race leading up to those overtimes that happened here. The overtimes give you that feeling that this race was closer than it actually was, in my opinion. Because you bunch them up for that last gasp, right? White and then checkered flags. Kind of gives you that feel it's closer than it was. It wasn't. Connor Zilisch led 70 of these laps, folks. Only other driver to leave laps was Austin Hill, and he led 8. Dominating race. I'm going to call, you used to call them phantom yellow flags from NASCAR. These were legit guys just losing control. Actually, I would argue NASCAR didn't throw the yellow a couple times when they probably should have here in this. Connor Zilisch gets his 8th win of the season. That, by the way, is the best series victory total for a rookie driver is 8. Obviously, he's having a dominating season out there. He won the pole of this race. He won both stages, 1 and 2, leading up to it. Had the fastest lap in this race. And then, of course, gets the victory. There's no other word to say in this Portland street race than Connor Zilisch dominated this race. It's the same problem on the Cup side with SVG, and then if Connor comes up and races on the Truck Series, it's the same situation. Other drivers have to figure out how to race these road courses. NASCAR's putting them in at bigger rounds. You're getting those specialty events like San Diego. They're at the Naval Base next year. You've got to figure out how to run these things competitively. Now, it'll be interesting. Connor Zilisch, SVG next year, battling it out on the Cup side of things. Maybe some competition finally between these two guys from there. But 70 of 78 laps, only one other guy led laps, dominating the air. Take the overtime away, and it was a fantastic finish on the overtime. Matter of fact, let's show it to you. Here's the white flag here, lap for Connor Zilisch's win.
First restart today where Connor Zilisch is not the control car. He's on the front row of Austin Hill, and they're pushing and shoving out of turn 12. 88 gets the jump. Here comes Zilisch. They're 3 wide going to turn 1.
88 is
Sammy
Zilisch,
Smith
by
is
the way.
there. So Wallich is there. It's going to be Zilisch leading the way.
Nick Sanchez locked up there on the inside of Sammy Smith. Zilisch misses the corner.
Missed it again.
And 8 goes
there
around.
Goes Sammy Smith. Who's going to come through with it? Zilisch is able to maintain the lead. So Wallich is second. This is incredible.
And
Overtime sponsored by Credit One Bank.
through all the chaos, the rightful fastest car of the day gets back to the lead, and that is Connor Zilisch.
8s are wild in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Win 8 for driver 88. Connor Zilisch is a phenom. He takes it at Portland.
Lots of 8s involved there. But I mean, look at that restart, right? Overtime restart. It's bunched up. Everybody's battling it out. He just runs away from everybody as it goes on, right? He is such a special driver, 19 years old. And keep in mind, he's just, 2 weeks away? 3 weeks maybe, but 2 weeks from collarbone surgery. He fell out of his car, if you don't remember. Broke his collarbone. They had the off week last week before Portland. Started the race. Parker Klingerman got in the car in that first caution. And he, goes out and wins it. Comes back this week, races the whole race, and goes through that side. Special kid. It's going to be fun to watch him move up on the Cup side as well for him. With this collarbone injury. Imagine if he was healthy. How much would he have won by from that side of things? Racing, basically the race results. Connor Zilisch won it there in the 88. William Zalrich there in second place. Nick Sanchez in third. Christian Eckes in fourth. Austin Hill ends up there in fifth place after battling it out for the lead there after that restart there in overtime. Carson Kvapil finished sixth place here in this race. Good news for him. he's in the playoffs. Nobody can catch him on points. He qualifies for the playoffs and is locked in going into this last race this weekend. Carson Vappel in the playoffs based off of points. So he did qualify that with that 6th place finish for him. Then you got Jeb Burton at 7th. Remember, every week, Jeb Burton is behind his cousin, Harrison Burton, into that last spot outside looking in. Jeb Burton finishes 7th at that point for that. Then you got 8th, Austin Green, Blaine Perkins in 9th, and then Jesse Love in 10th for right now. Harrison Burton, who's in that last playoff spot, the last several weeks we've looked at it, finished 12th at this race as well for him in this race. Interesting enough, I told you Connor Zilisch won that fastest lap here on this race as well. Pole, fastest lap, both stages, and then the win, right? So technically all 3 stages. The fastest lap came in lap 2 of this race. He hit it. 74.552. Lap 2 is when he hit that fastest lap bonus that NASCAR pays out. News on that coming up as well from that side. So here we are. 1 race to go this weekend. Worldwide Technology Raceway is what they call it. It's actually in Illinois. Madison, Illinois, I think is where it is, outside of St. Louis, about 5 miles or so east of St. Louis. Give you an idea where it's at on the map, right? This is the season ending. So let's get an update on those playoff points here for the Xfinity Series after that Portland race. We kind of thought that maybe Portland would shake it up, being a road race. No, Connor Zilisch went out there and did what he does, right? 8 wins, 43 playoff points for him going into this season. Justin Allgaier is the regular season championship leader right now. With his 3 wins, he's in that 2nd spot. Those guys are teammates, by the way, this year, Connor Zilisch and Justin Allgaier. And they are battling it out for the regular season championship going into this weekend. That is not settled, which means extra playoff points for you if you win that regular season championship. Sam Mayer there. Then we get to the 1 winners, right? Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, Nick Sanchez, all with the 1 wins, obviously locked into the playoffs there through the 7th spot. Austin Hill with his 3 wins, points not allowed to be made by him. Austin Hill, because of his DQ and his suspension, I guess I should say, for automatically wrecking somebody earlier a few weeks ago. His 3 wins, he's locked into the playoffs, but he will have 0 playoff points in that 8th spot there for Austin Hill. I told you Carson Vappel does qualify for the playoffs and he's locked in with those points. 728 points, obviously cannot be locked out. So we have 9 playoff spots taken, which leaves Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray, Harrison Burton, 3 spots open to be taken here at the end of this season. Jeb Burton is the only other driver that can get in based off of points. With 31 points outside looking in. So, it's going to take a new winner to knock off Harrison Burton because he's going to be in that 12th spot there. It's going to take a new winner or a disastrous race here coming up so his cousin Jeb Burton can get into the playoffs on the other side. So, a new winner, not named Sheldon Creed or Taylor Gray or Harrison Burton, will knock Harrison Burton out of the playoffs this weekend. If Harrison Burton wins, which probably isn't going to happen, he can obviously knock somebody else out at that point as well, like Taylor Gray, for instance. So 4 spots technically available. In actuality, 1 spot's available. Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray are going to get into these playoffs unless something disastrous happens for them. So the question is it going to be Harrison Burton, Jeb Burton, or somebody else getting into those playoffs with a new winner coming up? This weekend, Worldwide Technology Raceway is going to be the question on where this happens. Last regular season race, you're going to see guys outside the playoffs try to push some stuff and make some moves as this race goes on. Right? You're going to see some guys battling it out. They're probably going to make some aggressive moves to try to get up there to win this race to qualify for the playoffs. It's going to be fun to watch here as we get to the end as well. From that. So technically 3 spots available, but in all actuality, in my eyes at least, there's 1 spot available this weekend coming up. Saturday, 4:30 p.m. our time is when this race happens at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And it's just the sponsor there is Worldwide Technology, folks. It's all it means. It's the sponsor. That's what they named the track after, ironically enough, from that side. Xfinity has not raced at this racetrack since 2010. No repeat winners from Xfinity are racing in this Xfinity race out there. A couple of the drivers have raced on this racetrack back in 2010, believe it or not. They have. Harrison Burton, one of them. He did race here back then when NASCAR raced here. So first race since 2010. It's going to be an unknown racetrack for everybody except for Harrison Burton. So it is something to pay attention to going to this race. A lot of newbies here, right? How do they handle the racetrack, etc. Going into that side. Regular season champ is also up for grabs this weekend. So it's not just those 3 playoff spots that can be locked up. Who's going to win the regular season championship and get those extra points? You get those extra points in every round, I believe, except for the championship round here in Phoenix. So you got Connor Zilic, Justin Allgaier separated by just 20 points going into this race. Connor Zilic, obviously, the lead. Look, I know there's suspense here a little bit on this because it's not technically locked up. Connor Zilic is winning the regular season championship with his 8 wins. But I know we got to mention it. It's not technically locked up going into this race. We got to mention it. 20 points 19 points difference roughly in this race. It's Connor Zilic's to lose. He's going to be the regular season champion and get those extra points coming up for him, folks. This is fun, right? With the Truck Series off this weekend, Saturday night racing for the Xfinity Series, and playoffs on the line for these 3 spots. Regular season championship on the line. I'm looking so much forward to it. We'll have it all locked down on Saturday night. All the playoffs will be set, obviously, for all 3 series at that point, and we can look forward to everybody participating in the playoffs for Bristol the following weekend. And when we come back, well, let's get into Cup Series at Darlington, get you updated there. First race of the first round for the Cup Series. I just can't get used to saying that, folks. We'll talk about that and, of course, look ahead to the Worldwide Technology Raceway over there outside of St. Louis. Make our picks coming up here, and woo-wee, a lot of trouble here for some playoff drivers in the Cup Series last weekend. Do people change their fortunes? I'm looking at you, Hendrick Motorsports. Come on back, folks. It's the Pit Stop. And welcome back to the Pit Stop this week. Looking ahead, of course, looking back at Darlington. Also looking ahead to this weekend. Truck Series off. Xfinity coming up this weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Of course, Cup Series as well. Before we get into Cup Series here coming up, don't forget we have that 2311 court update coming up for you. And it's either dead until the December court date, or there's going to be a settlement coming up, I think, in this case. So hopefully that can die down a little bit here for this playoff run. But last week, Cup Series, of course, racing at Darlington last week. And going into this race, Denny Hamlin, very successful, ends up on the pole of this race. I was feeling good about myself after that, because I picked him to win. I said this was the race that Denny Hamlin, of course, drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, co-owner of 2311. I think this court stuff is going to just start weighing on him and the team. You can say it's not going to weigh on you all you want. It's going to weigh on you. You saw those text messages. You saw the emails Denny Hamlin was involved in. He's got a lot of anger towards the France family and everything going on right now. How does that translate into racing as it goes on when things go bad for you on the racetrack? Well, we kind of saw out at Darlington as he did not have a good race day for him out there. And it was an interesting time. That was my race pick. Now I got to kind of think here, but there's also other concerns out there. Hendrick Motorsports isn't running well either, right? And they did not run well at Darlington either coming up. And here's the deal. Chase Briscoe comes out with the win there at Darlington. Playoff driver, advances to the second round. Fantastic run by Chase Briscoe. Dominated the second half of it. Tyler Reddick was battling it out with him. Just couldn't get enough speed to pass him. Tyler Reddick there in that 2311 team to get that lead. A lot of people were rooting for Tyler Reddick to get that win, right? as they can hand the trophy, of course, to Tyler Reddick. NASCAR can in 2311 with those guys out there. Just didn't have the speed to do it, and Eric Jones was there. Eric Jones not a playoff driver. Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe are as well. So back-to-back Southern 500 winner, Chase Briscoe there for him. And that's Southern 500 there. I just thought Darlington. I thought, the 11 car won it. Denny Hamlin won it. Last time they raced there earlier this year, I thought he'd be the back-to-back. I just had the wrong back-to-back guy, folks. That's all that happened out there. Obviously moves on to the second round. Secure. Doesn't matter what happens in the next two races. Moves on to that second round. Obviously, you want to have success, playoff points, etc. It don't really matter as much moving forward for him. Led 309 of the 367 laps. Chase Briscoe did. 309 laps he led. Other guys, Tyler Reddick led 3. John Hunter Nemechek led 15. Bubba Wallace, the other 2311 driver there, Tyler Reddick's teammate, led 10 laps. Denny Hamlin led 12 laps for him. And then Ross Chastain, 3. Chase Elliott, 8. Kyle Larson, 2 laps for them. Then Christopher Bell, 2. And then Shane Van Gisbergen led 3 as well in here. So dominating fashion here by Chase Briscoe and his team that. He won the first 2 stages here as well for him. As I said, Tyler Reddick. Chase Briscoe took the lead around lap 320. Tyler Reddick made it a race. Eric Jones was trying to make it a race. And at one point, I thought Tyler Reddick was going to pass Chase Briscoe. This was an interesting thing right at the end of the race. I was like, Chase Briscoe does not have the best car out there. Started sliding, backside started sliding out on him. Got a little bit loose. It's like Tyler Reddick, if he can get a run, is going to pass him. I do think Tyler Reddick had a better car in terms of feel, grip, etc. than Chase Briscoe did, and he just couldn't get past him. This was a fantastic end of this race, the way Chase Briscoe ran it over Tyler Reddick coming into that. Second win of season for Chase Briscoe. Second at Darlington, obviously, with his back-to-back Southern 500 wins. Fourth win of the career for Chase Briscoe. And look at that. If I would have told you Chase Briscoe's the one driver punching his ticket first into the second round of the playoffs, a lot of you would have laughed at me. I did see some national guys actually say Chase Briscoe's going to make a run into the Final Four. I have seen a few people say that publicly, post it on social medias as well. So a lot of people think he's going to make a big run here coming up for Chase Briscoe as all. So Chase Briscoe, fantastic night. Tyler Reddick, playoff driver, fantastic night. Bubba Wallace had a good night as well. By the way, Tyler Reddick was involved in that early crash that knocked Josh Berry, playoff driver, out of the race and was able to come back and finish second in this race. Was the damage to the car what couldn't get him to pass Chase Briscoe? The wind wasn't flowing right off of it, couldn't get the grip he needed? Possibly, most likely, yes. But Tyler Reddick went from early race incident damage to second place. Fantastic run for them if you include everything on the Tyler Reddick side of things for them. I like Bubba Wallace in this race. Denny Hamlin ended up finishing 6th here as well. I like the way he ran in this race as well. Could he have been better? Absolutely. But that's the thing. Mistakes happen. And I think as this playoffs continue on, just that pressure mounts. And then he's got that outside pressure, more distractions. Even though I think with this 2311 lawsuit, kind of being settled, we'll talk about that coming up, until the court date or a settlement. I mean, imagine if there's settlement talks. And he's got to be involved in those all week long. It's just a distraction is what I'm getting at. Or if there's no settlement, you're still getting ready for court. You've got your butt handed to you in court several times now. You got to fight against that going to the court date, right? How much of a distraction is going to be for Denny Hamlin there with Joe Gibbs and his racing side. But everybody else had a tough night for most of these playoff drivers, man. It was brutal for everybody out there. Hendrick's team was absolutely terrible out there for this race. I don't know what's happened to Hendrick. Even Joe Gibbs Racing, it doesn't have a lot of success out there at Darlington. This is an amazing thing in the first round of the playoffs, right? So Wallace, solid day, finished 6th, as I said, in that playoff driver there. He ended up 21 points above the current elimination line there for Bubba Wallace. I like what he did in this race. Again, 2311 race car driver, open team, like what he did out there. Hamlin, his problem was, again, small mistakes, right? Slow pit stop around lap 150, I think it was, had that slow pit stop, really slow pit stop, and just could never get back up there, but does end up getting to 7th place for the finish there as well. Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, 11th and 12th here for playoff racing there. Chevrolets, well, Ross Chastain was the highest finishing Chevrolet out there in that 11th spot. The Chevrolets did not show up to Darlington here. It all was just kind of shocking to see as well. All 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers outside the top 15. That includes Chase Elliott. That includes Kyle Larson. Folks, disastrous opening race. Now you got 2 more to rebound from it, right? Worldwide Technology Raceway and then Bristol after that. So some unknowns coming up here as well for these drivers, Chase Elliott was the best of the Hendrick guys. Ended up finishing 17th at this race as well. Kyle Larson finished 19th. William Byron, the other Hendrick guy drivers, finished 21st as well. And I'll give you the playoff standings in a minute, but 3rd and 5th in the playoff standings, just give you an idea there. So obviously Josh Berry, playoff driver, knocked out there pretty quickly in this race. In the first lap, actually. He broke loose. Tyler Reddick was involved in this in turn 2. Tyler Reddick was able to continue on, as you said, finish 2nd. Josh Berry spent a lot of time in the garage after that. He returned to the track, 119 laps down. Josh Berry did. He finished 38th, which was last at this race. And obviously it's going to hurt his playoff points, and we'll show you how here coming up as well. So Alex Bowman, some misfortune out there as well. He's the other driver that squeaked into the playoffs, right? He had that final race issue where he had to sit on the sidelines, got out of that race early and had to sit on the sidelines and hope that a repeat driver would win. They ended up doing so. He gets in, but some more misfortune, I guess you could say, for Alex Bowman as well, right? Air supply issues to the front tire pit gun. He spent 40 seconds. I had to go back and look here to see how long it was because it felt like forever. 40 seconds on pit road, and that was a green flag stop. That wasn't even a yellow flag stop. That's how far behind he got. He was down a lap, of course, when after that incident there in the 40 laps under that green side. Denny Hamlin had the slow pit as well from there. Yeah. Lap 93 of the race, Briscoe passed Bowman as well. And so that put Bowman 2 laps behind at that point as well. He did get 3 waiver rounds. So that gets him up to the lead lap as well. But it took him to lap 230 to get back to the lead lap for Alex Bowman after that situation. Yeah, it was brutal. He ended up finishing up. He ended up struggling and finishing 2 more laps down there. Alex Bowman did. Finished 31st in this race as well for this time. If you want to talk Joe Gibbs racing, guys, right? Christopher Bell. Well, yeah. Pit road problems with Carson Hocevar. They collided. Carson Hocevar's not in the playoffs. Christopher Bell is. That was early in the race. I want to say around lap 50 is where that happened. So then Bell had no control of his car. The handling went away after that collision on pit road. Terrible finish for him. Finished 32nd for that Joe Gibbs Racing color as well. Obviously, Van Gisbergen, Shane. Van Gisbergen in the playoffs as well. He struggles on the ovals. Got another oval this week, right? With WWTR coming up. Yeah. Not good racing for him. Joey Logano, the 20th place finish here as well. Coming into this, Austin Dillon came home 23rd. Geez. Playoff drivers have struggled galore at Darlington. Now, good news is 2 races to finish that up and get back into, either win the race or get into that cut line and get to that side that you are dealing with. So a lot of misfortune on the playoff side of things. which gives us to our playoff standings, folks, here. And on the Cup Series, you're going to see a lot of turmoil happening. Alex Bowman, of course, was the guy coming into this in that last spot under the cut line for him. And not much has changed for Alex Bowman for the NASCAR guys on the pit side. I'm not sure if we have the graphic here. Just yell in my ear if we do not, so I know not to expect it coming up. And I can just talk about it. Yes. Yes, NASCAR won. I should have told you that. I apologize. I get to call out my stuff sometimes, folks. Chase Briscoe there, of course, with the win, moves on to the next round. There, it's all done. Denny Hamlin there, of course, is 43 points up, as you see, in that second spot. Then you got Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, even with these disastrous runs, right? But some of these guys are in danger of dropping below. Another bad race. Christopher Bell has another bad race here. 2 bad races here in this first round. He's going to drop down. Chase Elliott's in that boat as well. Shane Van Gisbergen, I expect. I'd like to think he gets through this first round. I have him getting through this first round. I just don't know if he's going to. Austin Dillon, Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, I've told you guys from the start when the playoffs were said, definitely out in this first round. They're not going to advance unless somebody wins at a race like Bristol, for instance. Those 3 are going to move on. You have some bad misfortune for Alex Bowman and Josh Berry. Just makes it harder for them now. They have to win to move on. I expect Austin Dillon to be a part of that as there. Joey Logano's next guy behind the cut line. So unless somebody else has a terrible race out there, right, for the guys that haven't won, Denny Hamlin's going to be able to move on. Probably Kyle Larson's going to move on. Tyler Reddick's going to move on. William Byron, Bubba Wallace probably going to move on. Ryan Blaney probably going to move on. Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Shane Van Gisbergen. Of those drivers, SVG is a driver that's not going to advance. I do think Joey Logano is going to advance out of this first round. He's going to win a race. But he will get his qualifying done. He will get into that. But Shane Van Gisbergen is terrible on ovals. Joey Logano is not. Joey Logano is going to work his points here. There's only a 3-point difference to make that switch. At a minimum, that's what's going to happen. Now, who above him is going to have bad races again? Christopher Bell and that Joe Gibbs racing team has been struggling. They can have another bad race. Chase Elliott can have another bad race and not finish high up and be in a threat to switch down. Austin Cindric, absolutely. Same situation. Ross Chastain. Anybody have confidence that he's going to be able to perform to stay up there in that 8th spot on that side with 2 races to go here coming up? I certainly don't. So I think Joey Logano is going to move on. You'll see why here when we talk about WWTR coming up here. But playoff points, right? A lot of big-name guys down on the bottom. Now 2 races to go. A lot can happen. I'm just saying, you have 1 bad race? Okay. 2 bad races are going to cost you here in this first round. No doubt about it. 12 racers move on. 4 get eliminated. It's going to be interesting to see here this weekend. And these next 2 races are going to set it up. These aren't races where guys are just going to coast to move on. Chase Elliott, you're going to have to do something this week to move on from him on that side, on the playoff side. So that's where we stand going into this weekend. Truck Series off, Xfinity, Cup Series, both at WWTR Racing this weekend for both of these guys. There's going to be some pressure on some of these playoff drivers. Are you going to draw this month? Are you going to go for this race? If you're toward the front, you're going to kind of not push it and wait till the next week, right? And see where you are for Bristol week, right? The Southern 500, by the way, there, terrible ratings for it compared to previous numbers. It was on the USA Network. It drew 1.88 million viewers, the Southern 500 did. Last year on USA, it brought in 2.4 million viewers last year. That's a big drop-off. Only thing going up against it was the beginning of college football season. Not even really that, to be honest with you. Ratings A little scary there if you want to look at it from that side. So, WWTR this weekend, we'll get into that. I'll fill you in on this racetrack. My pick, of course, coming up. But obviously, before we get into that 2311 nonsense talk that we have to talk about, we talk about the fastest low lap bonus criteria, right? If you run the fastest lap on a race, you get a point, a point, regular season point that goes towards, your playoff run and everything like that. Well, NASCAR is considering altering its eligibility standards for awarding that point for the fastest lap. Because at Darlington, and Kyle Larson's done it a couple times this year as well, been several laps down, was able to run by himself and get the fastest lap. Well, last place car earned the bonus at Darlington Raceway. It's happened several times this year. Kyle Larson, I think, has done it 2 or 3 times this year as well. Josh Berry got the fastest lap there in the Cup Series there. 119 laps down or whatever he was at that point, right? And that. So during Hauler Talk podcast, Managing Director of Communications of NASCAR did say they're discussing a review to tweak the lap rule, so they might make it necessary to be on the lead lap when you set the fastest lap, is what you need to do. I agree with that. I mean, if you... like Kyle Larson getting it, Josh Berry getting it, for instance. Well, what else are there out there racing for when you're 119 laps down, right? What do you do at that point? I think it gives incentives to guys down, like Josh Berry to get that fastest one, Kyle Larson early in the year. So I do see that side of it. I also see the side of it is, why are you letting a guy 100 laps down getting the fastest lap when he's just racing by himself out there? He's racing nobody at that point. I don't understand what they're doing on that. It's interesting to watch, on that. So if they change it, I'm okay with it. If they don't change it, I'm okay with it. Incentivize these guys to be down. Like Kyle Larson being down like he was the 2 times that he won it, 3 times he won it. He had no incentive to be out there other than just getting, points for being out there. Have him go out there and set records, man. Why not? Let's get some excitement out there from those guys. That's the way I look at it, at least from there. Then, of course, you've got the 2311 Front Row Motorsports. We have the judges' ruling came out late Wednesday here. Of course, last week I filled you in on all of it. They had the court hearing last Wednesday. Last week's show kind of sets you up for it. Judge told the teams, look, neither one of you should be confident you're winning this thing. On that side. But I did think that he was going to deny the appeal. This is the battle over whether 2311 and Front Row Motorsports can run as charter teams. They originally won that battle. Then it got taken away from them every step of the appeals way. They're running as an open team now, which means less money for them. I told you last week, NASCAR has changed some rules out there, right? They're keeping the charters now. They've sent it all to the court. I predicted last week's show that the judge is going to not grant the injunction and 2311 Front Row Motorsports would run as an open team the rest of the year. The court date or a settlement is going to solve this deal, right? Going forward. Well, it's official. The Judge Bell has denied both the team's request for that preliminary injunction. And the reason why he said he did it, and I told you this was a great move by NASCAR last week, because NASCAR came out and said they will leave the charters available in case the teams win the lawsuits. Then they get their charter backs at that point. So NASCAR did the smart thing. They're not selling them. They said they will be 6 charters. Now there's some caveats to this that NASCAR is doing as well, right? So he said from the order, this is a paragraph I picked. I read the whole court order here. He said, with trial in this matter now less than 3 months away, and the NASCAR season on its proverbial last laps. I like when judges get into that stuff. He said NASCAR has agreed to extend those representations in material effect. The charters are still available in case they win the lawsuit. If the charters were not available, the judge would have given them the injunction. I firmly believe that. Because you're irreparably harmed if your charters aren't there anymore. You can't get them back if they're not there. 6 of them are sitting there. They're not the ones you want. And I'll talk about that in a second. But there are 6 charters there, so you can get them back. You're not irreparably harmed at that point, right? On that side. He went on to say in this court ruling here, this specific paragraph caught my eye. Therefore, as explained below and consistent with his earlier order, the court will deny plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction based on the absence of irreparable harm. This will effectively maintain the status quo, pending a final decision on the merits and any permanent injunctive relief following trial, is what the judge said there, so as well. So, NASCAR changed its open rules. The judge notated this. He notated the changing of the open rules that guarantees that 2311 Front Row Motorsports will be able to fully participate in the rest of the races. They will not get shut out, right? So he mentioned this in that side. He even said that NASCAR's ability and willingness to make the rule change during the season reflects NASCAR's full private control over what teams can race in the Cup Series. So, so he notates that NASCAR's helping them out. He's not trying to shut them out. He's trying to work with them, is what he's noting at that point. He goes on to say, what will happen for the 2026 racing season will remain unsettled for everyone involved in the NASCAR Cup Series until after trial, of course, or an earlier resolution among the parties, meaning a settlement, right? So, he denies that. 2311 Front Row Motorsports are open teams for the rest of the year. The whole court filing is out there. So, in response to, all of this stuff out there, NASCAR is holding those 6 ownership charters through the results of this lawsuit or a settlement coming their way. The teams actually responded this week, and they said that they have a problem over the disputed charters. So 2311 Front Row Motorsports suggests that NASCAR's recent actions do not do enough to prevent imminent harm to their business and instead offered an alternate course of action and mediation. This was on Tuesday before the ruling on Wednesday, by the way, folks, as well. So in that filing on Tuesday, the teams say they will withdraw the motion for a third-party preliminary injunction request if NASCAR continue to hold 6 charters available for them if they win the case. So NASCAR's agreed to do this. This is on Tuesday before the settlement amount. But they created 4 new charters, NASCAR did. They created charters 37, 38, 39, and 40. So it's not the same charters that they had. This is interesting, folks. There's a reason for this. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are asking that the 6 charters to be held are the 6 that they started the season with. If you don't know NASCAR rules, this is a very important part of it. Charters have value. That value of a charter is based on the results from the previous season. So if they win this lawsuit and NASCAR's created 6 new charters, not the ones that they had, 6 new ones, NASCAR can sell the ones that they had for more value because they have points on them from the season. New charters, 37, 38, 39, and 40, worth less money because less valuable because they don't have any points on them going into next season. Instant distinction here on what NASCAR is doing to these teams. And it is an amazing thing, but the judge ignored all that, kept the injunction there, and we're going to trial out there. Other things that have come out over the last couple of days, the 13 teams that are chartered, obviously the 2 that aren't are in this lawsuit. Rumor is they're becoming frustrated with the case. They came out and the judge warned last week that the entire charter system is in danger of imploding if a settlement's not reached. The non-suing teams believe their valuations are being harmed by this litigation. The majority owner of Spire Motorsports NASCAR team, name is Dan Towers. And then he's also an owner of Cadillac F1, by the way. We talked about them earlier with getting Powers. Will Powers is their driver as well. He said he was, quote, very disappointed with the direction, unquote, the lawsuit has taken. He said, quote, we have meetings with NASCAR brass a few weeks ago, and it's how can we help, is what he said. What we saw in court and what was released in that case is very inconsistent with what NASCAR say privately, and so I need to understand, who am I dealing with? Which one is it? Is it the people we meet with privately, or is what you say when we're not around, unquote, is what? Towers did go on to say he'd like to see a settlement in this case. I do believe we're going to see a settlement in this case before the court date. Maybe not. Michael Jordan might take this to trial. Both sides are going to lose in some points, and both sides are going to win on some points. NASCAR is going to win the war. 2311 Front Row Motorsports are going to win some of the battles. This is going to be detrimental to these teams. These teams are going to suffer going through this process. Make the settlement side of it, and part of that settlement needs to be they get their charters back and they move on. They don't like the charter system. They don't like anything about it, but they want to race under it. That doesn't make sense. If it was so bad, you should have raced as an open team all season long as they go forward. This is going to get messy if it goes to trial. We're already seeing other teams talk about how messy it is. It's going to quiet down now until either a settlement is done or the trial date. I do believe we're going to see a settlement at some point. Millions of dollars are on the line for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. More than millions are on the line for NASCAR. Nobody's going to come out of this clean. Who is going to be the adult in this situation and make a settlement offer and the settlement negotiations? If this goes to trial, it's going to be messy for both sides. Something to pay attention to coming up as well. So this weekend, WWTR, right? Sunday noontime for the Cup Series. Racing out there from, Madison, Illinois, just outside of St. Louis. It's a fantastic race course. I like it. I like everything about this racetrack coming up. 1.25 mile asphalt oval coming up for this racetrack. Should be speedy. Maybe it won't even be competitive. Somebody might run away with it. It's either going to be somebody's going to run away with this race as a win, or it's going to be a late passing here in the last 3 to 5 laps. There'll be a late pass to go on. I know it sounds like that's two things that can happen, but that's what's going to happen. It's going to be one or the other. And it's going to be a non-competitive race, I believe, for somebody out there. Even if there is a late pass in this race, somebody's going to dominate this race, I think, coming up this weekend. That's what I think is going to happen coming up here as well. For instance, the race winner took the lead with 2 laps to go in 2 of the last 3 races at WWTR. That was 2022 and 2024. The final green flag stretch at the racetrack here last year was 92 laps. The other 2 races finished in overtime. Somebody's going to run away with this race, or there's going to be a late pass here to win it at the end, or bottled up for an overtime. It's which way is it going to run is the biggest question going into this. Playoffs are in line. A playoff driver will win this race. Speed's going to be an issue here and everything. One guy, though, last week I went with the guy that dominates at Darlington. Picked the wrong one. I went with the number 11 car, Denny Hamlin. This week I'm going to go with another guy that dominates this racetrack here. He needs the win. He needs the points. He's on the outside looking in right now. Joey Logano has finished top 5 in the last 3 races there at Worldwide Technology Raceway, including his win in 2022. He's the only driver with top 10 finishes in all 3 races at this racetrack. He's got an average finish of 3 here. It's his best track by far. Joey Logano's winning this race this weekend. Joey Logano's advancing to the second round based off of this win this weekend. It's going to be a fun race, man. I'm looking forward to it. Keep your eyes. I don't have any faith in any of the Hendrick guys right now. I just don't. I don't have any faith in any of the Joe Gibbs guys, including Denny Hamlin this week. I think there's a lot of distractions in his world. Last week was the week he needed to win to ensure advancement into this with the win and kind of relax a little bit for 2 races and get some stuff cleared up. I think the pressure on him is going to be more. I don't trust any of the Hendrick guys. I don't trust any of the Trackhouse guys here. Joey Logano wins this race. Ryan Blaney's going to be up there with them as well. Boom, let's go this weekend. Worldwide Technology Raceway for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. Folks, it's going to be a fun racing weekend. Appreciate you joining me. We went a little bit into overtime talking about that lawsuit and the races over the last a couple weeks out there. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk on, of course, X and Facebook. Free podcast on Podbean. I search at the Pit Stop Talk. YouTube as well, on demand at Robat TV. YouTube's free, Robat TV with your subscription. We'll see you next week, everybody. Enjoy the racing this weekend.